I think Yogi at Skeet was different from Yogi at camp, in my opinion, because Yogi didn't have to be at Skeet.
No.
The other managers came into their own and would run wonderful weekends. And as members, we used to look to who's managing the weekend, who's going to be going along. And there would always be, about four other adults. And they would run very, very successful, happy weekends. And he didn't have to be there. Whereas camp was his complete organisation, management. It was an unbelievable feat of 10 days away, where it was...
Yes, for the pioneers it was even longer.
It was longer because as pioneers, you were there for how long beforehand?
We went for a week beforehand to get everything
set up. The marquees up, the electricity, the cookhouse, kitchen, toilets, the layout of the camp. And Yogi would have got a blueprint in his head of all of these things. And similarly, you went down there with a lorry, which was equipped with everything for that camp. And somehow we never seemed to run out of things. It worked. It was fully equipped.
Yeah.
And it all got set up. I mean, just amazing. Because, some of the camps had 150 people there.
Oh, absolutely.
It was an enormous operation. And he masterminded it. It couldn't have happened without him, I don't think.
No.
And that's where it was different.
Yes,
that was one of the differences between that and
I think
Skeet.
Skeet, that was a totally different atmosphere at Skeet. Lovely.
We loved it. We really loved it.
Well, that's why we carried on for 30
Absolutely.
years.
I know. And our families all enjoyed it for the next generation. We booked family weekends with families and friends because we wanted them to share that feeling of what it was like to be there with a larger group and different generations. And again, for youngsters, they were socialising and talking with adults in a way that they otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity.
I think that Skeet, particularly when the girls
Yes.
and the boys went to Skeet together, which was a big change. When before that, it was much more activity. Outdoor activity based.
Yeah.
But Skeet then provided when the girls came to Skeet and we went to Skeet together. That development of relationship between the boys and the girls was entirely different. We had the relationship at club insofar as we went to these socials in the evening. After club, we had these dance sessions for an hour, and it was wonderful. But largely, it didn't have the intimacy that Skeet
allowed. Yes.
That Skeet provided.
Yes.
And once you were at Skeet, then that relationship changed. And as a young man, or going to Skeet with the girls, or I, and I'm sure lots of the others, learned how to behave, how to relate to young women. What was appropriate, what wasn't. Also, how to deal with the intimacies that did arise in those situations. And there's a piece in the Skeet book which I wrote about it at some length. And I thought that was just seventh heaven.
Yes.
It helped us all, I think, just to grow up with a better sense of how you deal with a relationship between a female and a male.
Yes. Talking about the girls and the boys getting together makes me recognise also how at the club, when the clubs got together, they didn't become a mixed club. It was incredibly important for Yogi that the clubs and the members retained their separate identities. So when we all moved to the new building, the girls' club, the girls had the first floor, the boys had the second floor, the activities were separate, and then you only got together, as you say, for these social dances, and they were only mixed once you were 15. Before that, you could only go to the socials once, I think it was 15, wasn't something like that. And similarly at Skeet, there were girls' weekends and boys' weekends, and then there were just, I think, 2 or 3 mixed weekends at Whitsun and at Christmas. I don't know if there were any other mixed weekends. There were more mixed, yeah. And as you say, they were very important. Now, I think the kids' experience, the boys and girls at Skeet, was very, very important to the ones who chose to go regularly. And it became an incredibly important escape and relaxed atmosphere, whether it was a mixed weekend or even the girls' weekends. We just loved them. We loved those too. And in a way, you had a similar sort of programme most times that you went, where you had getting to know you games and things on a Friday night, and everyone would somehow get to know each other. And then on the Saturday would be doing some sort of sport or outside or going for long walks. And in the evening put on a show or some form of entertainment.
Fantastic.
And the shows were always amazing. What came together, it was just incredible. There was so much natural talent. It just spun off and lots of laughter. And all of that was great. And again, but we still had responsibilities, whether it was washing up, laying the tables, doing those things.
Absolutely.
This is where that sort of code of behaviour, I think, was, I want to say reinforced, but it was just expected that, you would be helping in different ways, and you were encouraged to volunteer, knowing you would have a turn at some point. So you had a say in it, but you knew this is how you did behave. And I think Skeet became incredibly important for many people. And then similarly, the holidays, whether it was camp or holidays abroad.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just went on. And I don't mean how many relationships came out of Skeet and holidays abroad. Wonderful, wonderful, happy times for a lot of people. And the other nice thing about those things is, we had people who had their own issues or difficulties, but I don't remember anyone ever being picked on or being left out.
Yeah. I make the point in the book that you didn't go to Skeet unless you were prepared to cooperate. Everybody cooperated in making those Skeet weekends what they were, and you very quickly learned that if you weren't going to cooperate, then this wasn't the place for you.
Right.
And and I think it was. I suppose I look at back and do wonder at, given that these were all kids from poor homes, where they got this sort of sense that in the club and in Skeet or at camp there was a way to behave.
Yeah, as part of that Brady family, it was almost, we were like a family.
It is very extraordinary. It is very extraordinary indeed.
And the relationships that have been maintained. You still see people, I still see people. We know from the photographic group, there are some really lifelong friendships as well as relationships, and which have stayed.
Yeah, and also, of course, for me, because I'm much older than the Mike and Michael Black and Tony Brent and so on. The loss. We lost Simon Palmer, we lost Leslie Salata, we lost Laurie Bloom, and all those boys who were part of my generation. They came as terrible losses.
Yes.
And this group that you're talking about, they've still got each other.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, at my age, I haven't got them.
No.
Yeah. Most of them are gone. and that's a real sadness.
Yes.
That's a real sadness.